Hello, I'm Jessica Cofield, president of Asheville Sister Cities, and also serve on the board of directors for Sister Cities International. And my guest here is Sandra Frimpong. The two of us actually just got back from a conference in Cape Town, South Africa, the SCI Africa Summit, whose mission and the goal of the summit was to really try to connect kind of 500 cities in 5 years from Africa to the US, all over Africa. The conference mostly focused in South Africa, but brought delegates from all over that continent as well as the US. And so, Sandra, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved with Sister Cities and what you also do here in Asheville?
Okay. Well, my name is Sandra Frimpong. I am an accountant. I teach accounting, and I also, in practice. Another thing that I do is the Let's Explore Africa quiz show. I've been with Asheville Sister City. I served as co-chair of the board in 2017, about 6 years ago. For about 2 years. Right. And it's an organization that been working with a group from Nigeria, at least the group that I work, where I served on as co-chair. We have the Oshogbo. In Shogbo. So to have to go to South Africa and see all the other sister cities in addition to the 7 that we have here was really a wonderful experience. So.
Yeah, it truly was. There are, I think, around 400 to 500 attendees, and to be able to be in a room with that much diversity, that much experience and education, and then just really getting to learn from one another, I think was fantastic. And that's one of my favorite things about Sister Cities is the doors that it can open and the people that you get to meet and interact with, because we're as you were telling a story earlier, I'll let you recount your experience at the welcome reception. We were hosted at the Cape Town,
Cape of
Good Hope.
Good Hope.
Castle or fort?
Yeah, Castle of Good Hope.
Castle, we'll get there.
Castle of Good Hope. Yeah.
But tell me a little bit about that experience and what it was like.
It was beautiful. You have this young guy, playing with things, and you have a host band, welcoming us, until we actually get to the reception area, and and they have food lined up from just all over, things that that you read from from book. I've even tested on it, on Let's Explore Africa, but
oh really? Yes.
See the food and taste it
and taste
oh
it.
My God!
Oh
this
gosh!
Is how so close we are to to the rest of the world, because. Maybe we give it different names, but they're so similar. But it's just beautiful. And while I was, getting a plate, I looked up, and here we have the mayor of Cape Town. And I'm like, wait, he's you can't miss him because he's so tall, and so I just he was taking pictures with people. I just joined in the in the process. But it was beautiful, and you have live. Music and people dancing and everything. How do you feel about that?
I mean, just the showcase of everything that South Africa had to offer. I think it was an incredible experience, and a wide breadth and genre of different music. And they also had tables for nonprofits that we were able to work with while we were there, and can continue to do so. A lot of Sister Cities work is in addition to being connectors of cultural and education programs, there's a lot of humanitarian efforts, and also funding and helping out with nonprofit projects in different communities that around the world that people are involved in. But going back to the food, yes, it was a Cape Malay cuisine, and the Gatsby, which is it's like a hoagie roll with sausage, and the spices are incredible, and French fries on top. So like you said, similar foods, just different approaches to it. Yeah. What were some of the things about the conference that stood out to you, or things that you got to do there while you know, as a tourist on your own, you wouldn't have necessarily gotten to do, but because of sister cities, that was able to happen.
I mean, events like this will always stay with you for forever, because when you travel on your own, you are limited in terms of what you see. Even when you go with a group and you have a group tour, you don't have access to certain things, and this provided that. You know, if you travel to Cape Town, you're not going to meet the mayor. You're not going to meet the mayor of Zambia. You're not going to meet the High Commission from Ghana. You're not going to meet somebody from from other parts of the world. But we're able to do this opened opportunity to be able to connect with those people on a very high level. As opposed to the mayor of Johannesburg was there too, right?
I think so. Yeah, for one day.
From him, during the gala. So, it just presented incredible opportunity, and also to learn what others are doing. Yeah. Because they say when you stay in your own father's garden, you think that's the best. That's the there's nothing like it, and then you step out and you say, oh my God.
I think the usually at a conference or a summit with sister cities, they really take time to make sure that there's city showcases, so different cities can talk about projects that they're working on, or what's worked for them or what didn't work, and really having those examples can spark a light bulb in someone's head of like how they could apply it, similar ideas to their own relationships and cities they're connected with. So yeah, I think it's great. And what you were saying about access to people and ideas and things that you wouldn't get on your own, there's a program that they're really trying to build with NBA Africa. And my husband came with us, and his eyes lit up like a little child because he loves NBA, and he's like, that's the one that I want to go to and learn about. And he got to meet some incredible people who are making things happen and making a difference in the lives from the ground up of communities and citizens all around the world. And I think that with Sister Cities, it just presents these opportunities in a fun, engaging, and exciting way. And the summit, I thought, was incredibly well organized. So many things to do. I know both of us were kind of like,
oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
There's so much. There's so much to do, and I mean the programs that other sister cities were working on. That it's like you said, that the light bulb would go off, because you think like, oh, I'm not, I didn't even know that these things are happening in other states. For instance, I met these two dignitaries from California, and one happened to be on the board of education there, and they were talking about how the state will, like they will replenish. I mean, that they will call back all the computers that they were using before in schools all over that state, and then they will install new ones. So I'm going like Saints. So what happens to the old one?
Right.
So they, so they either refurbish them and then send them to, distribute them to places, and so they're thinking of sending it back to their sister city,
right?
In Cape Town. So that's something that's some of ideas, and even to become honorary consulate. Those are some of the things that most of us didn't know anything about.
I was very interested in learning about the consulate relationships and the grant programs through the consulate, and yes, like you were saying, like I had not thought about the fact that so many organizations and cities have technology that's considered obsolete after a certain period of time, but is still useful and valid. And so where does that go? How can we keep it in use and keep it out of the landfill for longer? And I think there's some really amazing templates and programs out there that can be shared, and that's what it's all about, is sharing that information and sharing with one another throughout the globe, and not just the people in your own backyard, because we're all so connected these days, and it really does make a difference when we can learn from one another and see those similarities, but also see the differences and appreciate those differences.
And in terms of on some of the things that you picked up during your engagement with the people that you met on Nelson Mandela's granddaughter.
Yes, Nelson Mandela's granddaughter was there. That was pretty cool.
I saw that picture. And you also presented?
Yes,
So how was
that? It was, I got to present on marketing. I work for a marketing company, and marketing that works for your sister city. And it was actually an interesting exercise for me too, to go through it and think about, okay, how are we marketing our sister city, and what are the best steps to take? And I got to present on that, and it was really great to hear people coming up after me and after I talked and wanting to continue the conversation and asking for those slides and asking for a way to take that back to their city. So there was a good amount of information exchange. The one I also really liked was how to breathe life back into a dormant relationship, and then again, how to make use of the consulate and our foreign affairs and foreign service programs that are out there, and how they're working to make a difference. So we have a couple of fabrics here that we did some shopping when we were over there, but these are hand dyed, hand painted, and we also had incredible seamstresses that had made these outfits for the board members with fabric made specially for us. So,
and they even have a stole for elders.
Yes, we honored our elders. Anyone over 80 who has been involved with the Sister Cities program for over a decade was honored with their own sash and a dance at the end at the big celebration dinner. That gala was it 16 courses or 18 or something?
And fantastic dances. And,
it was incredible.
And then you had the distilled. The guy on the Disney. It was beautiful.
Yes, the performers and the stilt walkers. So, is there anything else that we haven't covered that you want to talk about? You shared information even before we left about delegates and all the grants available, but most people didn't know that. But you did a fantastic job of researching that and sharing that information with the board, because that actually helped revive, the Shogbo, and I'm sure that others would benefited from it. And since you also talk about marketing, that's one of the things that I believe may be lacking for most sisters, because they think this is a non-profit, this is an organization. We meet other sisters, and and they come and then they go. But how do you promote it? And you've done a very good job on that. Did you pick up anything else from the other group that you feel would be beneficial to ASCI Sister City? I think I believe it was. Julie. So Julie Adams, who also went with us, she encountered a group just in casual conversation, I think on a bus ride, because we had buses to take us to different events, and that was another time to just sit and network. And so we got to, but I think she encountered a group who's looking to provide funding for medical assistance programs. And so I think she was going to try to take that back to the committee and say, are we wanting to continue to pursue any, even the wheelchair project that's a possibility for Oshogbo, and the women's health clinic that we helped with originally in the relationship, and continuing to provide any supplies that are needed. It sounded like that was an opportunity that would be available. So well, I was in talking with the consulate too there. They mentioned that there is a female entrepreneur out of Oshogbo who is likely going to be a recipient of a scholarship or grant program that would allow her to come to the U.S. and study and learn and further her entrepreneurial career. And it's quite possible maybe she could come to Asheville and we could connect her here locally too with some of that. So you never know.
I mean, it's amazing, you know, because when you see other, you know, the program that others are offering, and how they're able to access money and the links and the connections that they have, it beats. You can't travel by yourself and get those information. It's just not possible. And beyond the you know, the city tour, I mean, talking about well coordination, beyond the city tour, and that was given like every single day. So if you missed it, like on Tuesday, you can
keep going.
Jump in. But then they also have other attractions. They have
so many.
Yeah, they collaborated with a local travel company, Aluta, and so people who went to go to places like the winery, you have you can talk
I know there are
Robben Island, Cape Point or Cape Agola, and Table Mountain. It was
so many options.
So much to do.
Yeah. it was overwhelming to say the least, but and still try to attend the programs and everything. The winery that they took us to was incredible. It was one of the original vineyards in the area, and it was a beautiful evening, and they really did a great job connecting people and making people feel like they had a safe space to talk and to meet and converse. And so I think that's the primary thing of what Sister Cities is all about, is making connections and friendships that will last and breed this incredible pathway for peace and understanding.
Yeah, and another thing that they did beyond which is part of the conference, is that the service day, where people actually volunteered at, they call it Nelson Mandela's Day.
Yes.
And then on the visits to Langa to see the children, and I think this has to do with the Miami-Dade
relationship.
Relationship. So it wasn't just so much about coming down there and drinking coffee and enjoying yourself and going on trips, but you also, going to locations or attractions, but they have hands-on going and seeing the people that they've been sending things to, and actually meet with the students and see how what they're going to need, if there's so that they can tell them what they have to do to improve. But I think it's such a resourceful, it's a wonderful experience. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And on a personal note, with my quiz, you talk about Table Mountain is in South Africa, big Cape Town. But when you actually visit and see, it's a whole new ball game. And things are always different when you're there. It was a wonderful experience from start to finish. Even at the airport, you have the sign there welcoming you. To make sure, don't you feel like a
you do. You feel like a VIP everywhere. It's like, oh, you're with Sister Cities. Oh, you're oh yes, okay.
Even at the airport, when you're leaving and you have that badge on, it's like, oh, this is this is a delegate. That they let you pass through TSA.
Not quite that level, not quite that level, but acknowledged.
You feel special and you feel welcomed, and the city is more beautiful than I thought.
Yeah, it really was incredibly beautiful. The whole area.
It was nice.
So if you are interested in what you've heard and you want to get involved in Sister Cities, Asheville has our local chapter of Asheville Sister Cities, and you can find us at ashevillesistercities.org on our website. And we have 7 different relationships all around the world that we can partner you with, depending on what your interests are. So, yeah.
It's a wonderful experience. It's a wonderful organization. Please join Asheville Sister City.
And thank you, Sandra, for joining me today.
Thank you.